What is going on, Rise of Kingdoms fans? Wispy here, and today I want to talk about whether or not you should go back and redo KVK 2 or not. I get this comment all the time in the comments of my guide videos or when I'm live streaming. It's just a very common themed question, and typically it's more of a lower power player, a free to play, because there's that age-old myth of you should go back and redo KVK 2 until you feel like you're caught up and you're strong enough to go into the later KVKs. So in this video, I'm going to break down the negatives for going back and redoing KVK 2 and the pros of going back and redoing KVK 2. And at the end, we're going to have the conclusion and my personal thoughts and opinion on whether or not you should do it and why. Also, we just hit 1,000 subs, so if you're not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button. We come out with guides all the time. Now, I have a notepad up here, and so we're going to jot down each point that I make, and we're going to start with the cons, and it's going to seem very negative, except, I mean, that's the whole point of cons, like a pro-con list. So again, after this, we're going to do the pros and then the conclusion. So con number one, why you shouldn't go back and redo KVK 2 is you cannot use Season of Conquest equipment or commanders. So con number one is you will not be able to use any equipment, accessories, or the commanders that are only available to use in Season of Conquest. Now, if you're unsure of which commanders you can use and not use in KVK 2, which ones are specifically only for Season of Conquest, so KVK 4 and later, just go to the commander, click on them, and at the top it'll say this commander can only be used in Season of Conquest Kingdoms. So that's KVK 4 and later. So you will not be able to use commanders like Guan, Ramses, Trajan, Zenobia. So all those commanders you will not be able to use. You won't have access to get them. And the equipment that you won't be able to use is equipment like most notably like the accessories. So, you have the Mora's Web, and you have the horn. So all that stuff you can pick up in the Season of Conquest shop, can't use it. So even if you have it, you will not be able to use it until you reach KVK 4. So that's con number one, is just you won't have access to them. And I think a lot of people want to go back and do KVK 2 because they don't have them, or they're struggling to level up and get sculptures of these commanders. So they feel like they need to go back because all the commanders they have are the first gen commanders like Charles and Richard and YSG and stuff. So they feel the pressure of they're just not ready for the Season of Conquest, but at least you have access to them and you could work on them over time. Whereas if you go back, you won't even have that option at all to even slowly work on. Now, con number two on this list is the kingdom that you go to, it might be unstable. The reason why I came up with this con is because when I was looking to migrate out of 1720, a lot of my friends, they were like, if we're going to leave 1720, then we want to go back and redo KVK 2 because they're mainly all free to play and they just don't really like Season of Conquest. They don't feel like they have the commanders or the gear for it, and they just want to go back to KVK 2 and kick the crap out of people. They want to be the strong ones for once, for KVK 2. But you run the risk of it being unstable. And I say this is because where I make YouTube videos and not like super big or super well known, but there's always that good chance that the kingdom that we might go to, there might be people in there that recognize me. And so they pretty much chose me as the ambassador of our group. So I did the majority of the reaching out and talking to all these kingdoms going into KVK2. And when I say I talked to a lot of kingdoms, I talked to a lot of freaking kingdoms. And it was either A, they were too scared to take in big players, or it was a group of friends that did a restart project so they could bring their big main accounts into that kingdom, or it was just unstable. The majority of them lost their KVK2. It wasn't even close. They got demolished. You got to think KVK 1 and 2 is very hit or miss. It's very wishy-washy. So a kingdom can fall apart extremely easy in those early KVKs, and that includes KVK2. Think about how many kingdoms you look at them and you're like, that's going to be a strong kingdom for KVK2, and it goes sideways. It completely goes sideways, and all those people that came in start to leave. Well, if you're a free-to-play or extremely low spender, you just spent all that time gathering those passports, and you're stuck there. Like, you cannot go anywhere at all. So you run the risk of going to a very unstable kingdom. Now, to caveat this, we'll still count it as con number 2, is that you're stuck. You're stuck there until after KVK 3. So when you go back to KVK 2, you can't move forward. You got to do it in order. So after KVK 2, if you do not enjoy the kingdom that you initially went to and you are able to migrate again, after doing that one KVK with them, you either have to go back and do KVK 2 again, or you have to go to a kingdom that is going into Light versus Darkness, KVK 3, but you cannot jump back up to Season of Conquest. So wherever you go, you're stuck for at least 2 KVKs. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people know this, but if you didn't, you will, like, say you like, I only need 1 KVK2 and I'll feel like I'm ready for Season of Conquest. Well, you gotta wait. You're stuck with that kingdom or in that progression of KVKs until you reach the Season of Conquest, and then you can stay with them or jump to another kingdom for Season of Conquest. So that is pretty much a twofer for con number 2. So con number 3 is you might not get a spot in MGE or get blueprints from camps and keeps. So a lot of people, they want to go back and they want to redo KVK2 because they want to work on their commanders and also, you know, maybe get the blueprints from the camps and keeps. So to get the Silent Trial, Delane's Amulet, and the legendary accessory that increases skill damage. So there is a really high possibility that you will not get an MGE spot, okay? The people that are already there, they went through KVK1 together. They probably already have a priority list of everybody that they feel deserves an MGE spot. You're a newcomer, and most of the times, the only way a newcomer can get a spot on the MGE before ever doing a KVK with that kingdom is if they are a whale and they have amazing stats and they already have the commanders, and essentially it's like all their gear is complete. They just need some accessories to round it out. Like they have legendary equipment sets, and it's just they never had a chance or the opportunity to round those equipment sets out with some accessories. So when you're going back, don't assume that you're going to be able to just work on your commanders. Now, you'll be able to work on your wheel commanders because, I mean, there's no list for that. It's the wheel. So you'll be able to work on those. But again, you can work on those same commanders in the Season of Conquest or wherever you're at. you know what I'm saying? But the MGE commanders, it's probably going to be the exact same until you at least do one KVK and show, you know, hey, I deserve a spot. But by then you've already spent an entire KVK, and it's like, did you really make up anything at all? And the blueprints, like I said, there's usually a long list because it's a newer kingdom and everybody wants to get those blueprints. So there's always a long waiting list to get those blueprints. So now we're on to the pros list on reasons why you should migrate and redo KVK2. The immediate one that comes to mind, and the most common one, let's be honest, it's definitely the most common, is you don't feel pressured to buy crystal bundles. So you don't feel the pressure of increasing your heroic anthem or your strife of 8, the crystal tech. All right, that's usually the big one. You know, people just don't feel like they can compete because a lot of these older kingdoms, they have all these mega whales, these big spenders. They always max the tech, which is super expensive. Believe me, I hate doing it. I literally hate doing it. It's way too pricey. It completely sucks. And so this is probably the most compelling point that even I almost went back to KVK2 because I can't stop myself. Okay, I want to be as strong as possible. You know, I don't like getting destroyed. Like, I got destroyed one KVK, my very first KVK, and I said I would never let that happen again. And the pressure is real. You want to keep up with everybody, but if you're free to play, I mean, you're not like me. You don't have the ability or the willingness to spend money to compete at a higher level, and so you just feel like you're not able to fight and compete the way you want to. So that is definitely the main one that always comes up, is the crystal tech. I think a really good pro for number 2 on this list is being able to use your knowledge to help build up a newer kingdom. So you will have more experience in the game, except for the people that obviously migrated as well to go back to KVK2. But for the most part, you know, you'll know more about the game, what commanders to invest in, stuff like that. So you can use your knowledge to help newer players and help build up that kingdom. Maybe you can help make that kingdom a very special place. So that's number 2 on the pros list, is just already having experience under your belt and know what you're striving to do. I mean, let's all be honest, even through KVK2, people are still guessing, you know, basically winging it. Like, you have knowledge about the game, but let's be honest, not as in depth as you do later on in the game. So you get to bring that knowledge and experience and everything with you, and you can help that newer kingdom become a great place, you know, and basically make it your own and just make a ton of new friends. Plus, when you go to a new kingdom, it can inject new life into your enjoyment of the game because you have all these newer players that are still excited to play, you know, and so it might breathe, like that energy might rub off of them onto you and get you excited about the game again, because KVK2 is a very exciting time. Let's be honest, it's the best KVK. You know what I'm saying? It's really, really good. So that is point number 2. Now, pro number 3 is kind of a newer concept, but now you can get up to 30% of your troops back, up to 40%. So beforehand, all your dead troops were just dead. and it wasn't until you got to Season of Conquest that you got 50% of that back. Well, now you can get 30% back, and you can get up to 40%. Flash put out a little video. Apparently there's like a bundle that you can get up to 40%. I have heard some negative things about it though, that each little troop reclaim ticket or whatever it's called, you only get like 2,000 troops back. So I feel like you might have to get a lot of those to reach up to that 40% mark. But hey, you still get some troops back than none. That is definitely a benefit. So that's definitely a pro, is now you can get your troops back. They're not just straight dead. Okay, now, so my conclusion and my thoughts and my personal opinion, this, you don't have to take this as gospel. Do I think that you should go back and redo KVK2 or not? In my opinion, I don't think that you should go back and redo KVK2, except with one caveat. If maybe for some odd reason you didn't realize what you were doing, and when you started your new account, you started it in an older kingdom and you never got to experience KVK2, then yeah, I think you should go back, redo it, start from the beginning, do a fresh start. But if you've already been playing the game for a while, I don't really see the benefit of it, except you're just going back to kick the crap out of newer players. And I know that can seem very appealing and enjoyable, but honestly, there's just so many more benefits in being in an older kingdom. And I mean, those benefits are, most older kingdoms, a lot of the players already have all the blueprints from the camps and keeps, so that's one. It's easier to pick those up as a free-to-play in a newer kingdom, or I mean an older kingdom, because the majority of the players already have them and they don't really need them anymore. They're getting the Season of Conquest accessories, so that's one major benefit. The second benefit, again, you can work on all the commanders and gear and everything you want without any restriction. Yeah, it may take you a while, and that might be the reason why you're feeling pressure to go back, is because you just don't feel like you're ever going to be able to make those. But again, this is a time game. Eventually you will be able to make that accessory. You'll be able to get that commander eventually, even if it's just through doing like the free-to-play way, Card King. You can get those MGE commanders that you thought you would never be able to get. You just have access to them, even though you might be struggling to get them. At least you have the option, is what I'm saying. Another benefit is you're in an older kingdom, so it's definitely gonna be more stable, and like I know here in 412, like a lot of people think they can't grow in an older kingdom, but if you're a free-to-play, low power, and you need a safe place and you need to grow, I mean, 412 is a great place. We spread out our big spenders, our mega whales, in the top 3 or 4 alliances. We don't have all the spenders in one alliance. Like in my alliance, 412D, you have me, you have Fat Hands, you have several other spenders, that drop gold chests and everything for everybody to pick up. I mean, even Baba isn't even in the top alliance in the off season of KVK. Like all the big spenders are spread out through the top 3 or 4 alliances. So all those alliances are getting all the speed ups and VIP and everything from those chests, and they're getting a chance to grow, to benefit from the big spenders essentially. So the myth of you can't grow in an older kingdom is definitely not true. Maybe not in the kingdom you're in, but in my opinion, I would find a really good, safe, older kingdom to go to grow instead of going back to KVK2. Because another reason is when you're a free to play, and let's be honest, you probably have certain limitations when it comes to fighting and how much you can sacrifice and all this other stuff. In an older kingdom, they understand the limitations of a free-to-play player, and they know what it looks like when they give everything that they possibly can. Whether it's win or lose, it's an easier time for older kingdoms to tell, like, yeah, you know, he's free to play, but the guy did what he could. Like, he couldn't have done any more. Okay, if you go to a newer kingdom, they might not understand that. You know, they might look at what you did and was like, bro, you're not doing enough. Like, what the hell? Like, get out or something like that. But in an older kingdom, they understand, you know, like they have enough experience and enough free to play and know that they rely on those free to play players. You know, like everybody thinks all these giant kingdoms are made up of all these mega whales. No, free to play outnumbers whales like, I don't know, a couple 100 to 1. Like, you can't really have a successful kingdom with just whales. I mean, you could, but I mean, how many kingdoms are you going to be able to make if it's just whales? Like, you know, there's way too many free to play out there. So basically, you are understood, is what I'm getting at. But again, there are pros to go into KVK 2. You just have to decide for yourself whether it's worth it or not. But I would do my due diligence and I would ask every single question under the sun of the kingdom that you were looking at to go to. And I would create an account in there and I would make sure that that kingdom is exactly the way they say it is and that they are not blowing smoke up your butt because they want more players. You see what I'm saying? Like, some kingdoms going into KVK 2, they will tell you whatever you want to hear to get you to go there. You know what I'm saying? So it could be very dangerous if you don't do your due diligence and get to know these people at a personal level almost. If you guys want to see me make a video on what to do if you are migrating to a new kingdom, I can make one of those, an in-depth guide of like certain questions you should ask, how you should go about it. I definitely can do that. Also, if you have any other cons or pros or anything you think that I left out, feel free to put it in the comments below. I'm sure I left out a ton, but those are just the ones that I could think of. But until next time, I'm Wispy Gaming. I'll catch you guys in the next one.